and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Monika and this is the third episode. Today I'm wearing one of my self-drafted patterns. This is a t-shirt. It has raglan construction, as you might be able to tell from these increases here. There are very easy increases, they're just yarn overs, but I think the effect is very nice. This t-shirt is knit up in dropsmuskat in two colors. The green one is number 53 and the yellow one is number 30. So yeah, it has quite a boxy fit. I knitted up this summer, probably using needle size 4mm, if that's what they recommend. Yes, 4mm. So yeah, this one is one of my more used knits. I used it all summer. In general, I use it a lot. So even though it's not, I would say it's not t-shirt weather anymore, but I live in a warm apartment, so I really wanted to show this one off, mostly because even though I have a finished object, I am not comfortable wearing that on camera. That makes it sound very salacious or something, but it's not like that. I'm actually just gonna show it straight away. It is my white blouse. And the reason why I'm not comfortable wearing it on camera, I will put a picture up over here, with how deep the underarm is. It's way too deep to be wearing in public without anything over it. So yeah, I am very pleased with this singlet. It blocked out beautifully. This lace pattern, I have talked about this one in both of the previous episodes, so more than likely you are a bit done with it. But yeah, this lace pattern is from the Japanese Stitch Bible, or inspired by it. There are some modifications. And yeah, this one is knit out of Viking Garn Bamboo in the colorway 600. It is knit up in probably 3.5mm needles. Let me check my notes. 3.5mm. Also self-drafted. And I don't think I actually shown you the back before. So I'm gonna do that now. I picked up stitches on both sides here and then knit down to get the straps. Though I did knit the straps after I had knit most of the other parts. So instead of knitting down and then continuing down the front pieces, I actually Kitchener stitched them together, and I do not know. I don't think anyone's gonna be able to tell where the Kitchener stitch is actually. It's very, very seamless. I am very pleased with the job I did there. I realize I'm talking a bit faster than normal. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna try and slow down. But yeah, I am very, very pleased with this blouse. Yeah, I have talked about it in length before, and I'm showing a picture there with me wearing it, perhaps even with, because I have a matching cardigan, I guess, like a summer cardigan. I have a matching one that I knit before, and I think these two together look very well, so I'm very pleased. If I was gonna make this again, I would knit the straps shorter. I have knit them in like the same pattern. But I'm pretty certain that if I was ever to knit it again, either I would just have normal straps like I-cord, or perhaps just pearl stitch, or maybe in garter stitch, because I think it would probably look better. I mean, I am pleased with the result, but it is very hard to make these ones sit nicely when you wear the singlet. And I would also make it shorter, because at the moment these straps, I made them out of 2 repeats of the kind of leaf pattern. I would probably only use 1 so that it would not be as deep under the arm, and also sit a bit higher. I'm not gonna modify this one. I'm pretty pleased. This one is, for me, like a very casual but still stylish top, and I'm gonna wear it a lot during like really hot summer days where I do not want anything like up under the arm. So I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but I would make changes if I was gonna make it again. So when I write up the pattern, I am gonna make those changes. I would also probably tell people to try it on before actually attaching the strap to the back. So yeah. This is a self-drafted pattern, I probably said, and also one that I actually want to publish at some point. When? I do not know. Maybe next year. We'll see. So yeah, that's the first one. My second finished object is a pair of socks, which is not the pair that you probably would think I would be done with, the one that I've had on the needles for ages, but actually this one that I finished up just... I started it I think less than 2 weeks ago. Let me see. Yeah, less than 2 weeks ago. Because I just was super bored with the socks that I were knitting. And this is a pattern that also is self-drafted, in the sense that I have modified the free pattern quite hefty. So yeah, the pattern that I took inspiration from was the color palette socks. I don't remember what the designer's name is. I didn't remember that last time either, and I forgot to check it. But I will put the name down on the screen. So, yeah. I took inspiration from that pattern, but that's a one-size pattern, and also it has a slip stitch heel, but not this slip stitch heel. I modified the heel to kind of like match the rest of the pattern. It was not complicated, but you kind of had to have... I don't know how to translate it, the expression I have in my head. It's like, keep your tongue in the right place. I don't think that's the proper English phrase. I'm sorry. I mean, I guess you have to like pay attention. Yeah. I also changed the toe. And I would do one modification more on this toe if I was going to do it again. I do not know if you will be able to see, but when I Kitchener stitched it together, I did it like one needle here, so that you get like the smooth part is this way. If I was gonna do it again, I would Kitchener stitch them this way instead, so that the pattern along here would have a smooth transition on top. But I mean, I'm just gonna put that in a pattern. This is also a pattern I'm planning on releasing at some point. Probably a lot earlier because I made 2 changes actually to this one. The first pattern was one size pattern, the one that I took inspiration from. This one I changed some parts of the pattern, like the stitch pattern, and I also changed the stitch gauge. No, not gauge. Number of stitches. So the original one was 64 stitches, this one is 56, and I figured out it was quite easy to modify my own pattern to have several sizes. So this wool these socks are made out of is alpaca forte, Dale garn alpaca forte, which is 80% alpaca and 20% nylon, so they will actually last quite a long time. And I have small feet, which is why I have 56 stitches, and also the foot size is quite small. So I have decided I'm gonna change the amount of rows in each section depending on the size, because then it will be easier to customize the length of the foot too. And yeah, I used 3mm needles, which are quite large for using on socks. Usually you use 2 or 2.5. 3 is on the larger size, but you do get, in my opinion at least, a very nice fabric. And also, I'm sorry, I have a new camera and the colors don't quite show up the way I want them to. This green, I don't know if you remember the last episode, but this green was like a very strong forest green, and this kind of now looks more like a petroleum color. I guess that's just what I have to live with when I change the camera. I haven't quite figured out the camera settings and things like that. But yeah. I am planning on releasing this pattern. I will probably do it quite soon. But this specific pair I'm actually planning on giving away. I have a friend, her birthday is this weekend, and she and I have very similar sock sizes, so I know that if it fits for me, they will fit for her. And I also know that she doesn't like knitting a lot of socks for herself, but she loves to wear them. The only thing is, I'm a bit worried because I also know she has, I don't know, sensitivities. Not to wool, but to having stitch pattern under her foot. So even though I really do want her to have these ones, I don't know if that would be the best present. Perhaps instead I should ask her if she wants them. It's more like, I know she will be happy if she got them, and I know she would use them, but also I don't want to force her to use something that wouldn't be 100% comfortable, because I have done that a lot myself, and she's way too polite to tell me she doesn't like it. But she will tell my husband, and he will tell me, so we'll find out. So yeah, I mean, I really, really love these socks, and they fit me very well, which is actually the first pair of socks in like a year that actually does fit me. I have one other pair of socks that I really, really love that's knit in a completely different yarn, and it is not any, it doesn't contain any nylon, so that pair is like falling apart. I've been mending them so many times. But yeah, these are my new favorite socks. I do not know what I'm gonna call the pattern yet, but I will figure that out eventually. And I might give them away, I might keep them, I do not know yet. We have a different gift planned, but I kind of wanted to give her something more personal. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think perhaps this is not the best gift to give. Oh well. That's just how it is. And you can now probably understand why when I think last episode or the first episode said I barely have any of my own knitwear. This is why. I just give everything away. So yeah. I want some of it for myself though, so yeah. These socks I will probably keep after I've had a discussion with my husband to figure out if they will be an appropriate gift or not. But yeah, that's for later. I'm gonna put them away. Now, I do have a few projects that I have not touched the last week at all. So I'm just gonna go through them quite quickly, just to get done with them. The first one is a petite knit pattern. It is my champagne cardigan, which I am knitting up instead of in just stockinette stitch. I'm using broken rib. Like, this is the right side. So yeah, I'm a bit curious to see how that will actually affect how big it will be. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's knit up in a yarn called Ellen, which is 100% polyester, acrylic, plastic. Yeah. So no progress on that at all. Actually, I'll take it back. I knit like 2 rounds. But yeah, that's not enough progress to like dwell on it. So yeah, this one I'll put away. The second project I have barely touched, or actually I don't think I touched it at all, is the hat I'm knitting up. Wow, this yarn is tangled. Okay, there we go. It is the self-drafted hat pattern that I've been knitting up. This one is the hat from my husband. The reason why I put this aside was because when I blocked the hat for myself, I realized we had a few problems. So I'm just gonna put this hat away so I can talk about the other hat. Oh yeah, and it's knit up in double Sunday on 4mm needles, in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, this is the hat that I knit up for myself. When I before I blocked it, the first time I showed it, it sat very well in my head and I didn't actually think I would have any big problems. But when I blocked it, I realized that this part was very pointy and was like sticking out of my head, and I didn't like it. But I haven't actually come around to fixing it yet. So I have only just marked, like, this is where it starts sticking out, this is how far down it, like, when it sits nice again, and then I have to figure out how many decreases I did here and how to, like, how often do I have to decrease for this to be less curved, more straight. So yeah, I am quite happy with the brim though. I have now pulled down the brim, and you can quite easily see this line where I actually blocked it folded, and this fold line makes the hat sit very nice. And this is very nice on my head too, except that it sticks out. I can show you. So here you can see that it like sticks out. I showed it last time on the podcast. So yeah, It sticks out a bit, and I don't like that. So I have like indicated here how I'm gonna fix it. I just have to do a tiny bit of math and then update my pattern and then knit the sample for my husband. And when I have done all of that, I'm gonna knit up a hat from my grandma because she said she liked it. And I'm gonna knit her a smaller size. I actually have this size is the second size, which I'm calling a small. My husband I'm knitting the fourth size, so that's a large. And I have a size that's smaller than mine in the middle and larger. So I believe everyone will be able to find a size that fits them and also fits the type of hat they want. Because the recommended ease I have in this pattern I think is only like 2 to 5 centimeters, which is less than 1 inch to 2 inches. I think that's correct. Yeah, maybe even 6 centimeters, so it's a tiny bit more than 2 inches. This hat, knit for me, it only has 4 centimeters or something like that of ease. So yeah, if someone wants to knit a hat and have even less, oh, I mean negative ease. If I said positive ease, I'm sorry, I meant negative ease. Hats are supposed to have negative ease. But yeah, I knit it up with less ease. It's still in the same range, but if you want it to sit even tighter, you can just knit a smaller size. And my grandma, she has actually the same size head as me, but she prefers it even tighter. So that's why I'm knitting the smallest size for her. So yeah, that's the last one of the project I haven't done anything with. So I'm just putting it that way. And then, no, actually I have one more project I haven't done anything on. It's on this side. My sailor sweater. Last time I talked about this one having too shallow of an armhole. So I knew I would have to go back quite far. Well, not quite far, it's like 4 stripes, but like I have to get back here. Maybe, no, here. And then knit 2 more stripes before doing the increases and eventually adding the stitches for the underarm. I haven't done it yet. This week has been crazy busy, so there's a lot of things I haven't done. But yeah, this is my sailor sweater. It's knit up in, the white one is Viking Alpaca Storm in the colorway 500. I think it's 500. And the turquoise one is Rauma Garn Me Too, which is also alpaca. It's 50% alpaca and 50% wool. And I think, let me see, yeah, 3mm needles. So yeah, I'm gonna put this away too. There's no fun in talking about projects that I haven't actually touched, but I would like to mention them so that you can know that I haven't like abandoned them. But yeah, it's been a very busy week, so there's a lot of projects that haven't been touched, which annoys me because I really do want to like knit a little bit on every project because I like variation. But sadly I've been sick this week and I've also been crazy busy, so I haven't had as much time to knit as I would like. Doesn't mean I haven't done a lot of knitting, it just not as much as I'm used to, I guess. Oh well. The next project is one that we have talked about extensively, which is, oh sorry, I'm making a lot of noise. It's my black t-shirt. Now this one is a self-drafted black t-shirt with a v-neck and a special type of raglan increases that are like very lace inspired. Yeah, not so easy to see. Last time I talked about the body being too short and that I wanted to increase the length of the arms if I had enough yarn. So I bought 2 balls of untold yarn, which is the yarn I'm using. I do not know where I put the second ball. Oh well. I have some leftovers from the one I used on the body this week. I have now knit the body considerably longer, and even after doing that, it still kind of flares up. Yeah. So I knit it quite a bit longer, so now it is the length I wanted. And then I pulled out the stitches on the arm. I took out the ribbing and I put them on these needles, and I did that on one side. I haven't done it on the other side yet, but I'm thinking I'm gonna do them not 2 at a time as I do with my socks, but more like consecutively, I guess. Maybe 2 at a time if I find longer cables, because this one is too short for me to do these 2 at a time. But yeah, I only had time to pick them back on one side because since this is black yarn, if I didn't say, this is untold yarn, which is merino cotton mix. I think it's called cotton merino. Yeah, and the colorway is jet black. I'm dangling a lot, I'm sorry. Making a lot of noise. But yeah, I picked up the ribbing on one side, decided I wanted to do them both relatively at the same time so I can keep track of how long they are and that I have enough yarn. I have one untouched ball, and I have this that's left from the body, and I also have this which I ripped out from the arm. So I do have a lot of yarn at this moment. I don't think I'm gonna touch the second ball of yarn at all, which means I'm gonna end up using 6 balls instead of 5, which I originally planned, which is actually very well, because that means that I know that when I write up this pattern, I can recommend 6 for this and smaller sizes instead of 7, which might be a bit expensive. This is not cheap yarn. This is very, very nice and very quality yarn, but it's not cheap. So it's not like budget friendly, which I do know is a problem for quite a few people. It's not a problem for me. I work as a software developer, so I don't have money issues, to say it, put it that way. Also, I don't have a lot of hobbies that cost a lot of money, so yarn is like the one thing that costs for me. So yeah, I haven't gotten as far on this t-shirt as I wanted, but that's how it is. I couldn't be bothered to pick up the other arm when I was picking up the first one, just because it was so dark and I really need to sit somewhere where I can get adequate lighting and all of that. So even though I really want this to be finished, I haven't done as much progress as I wanted. Though I did lengthen the body, so I have actually done quite a lot. I think I lengthened it with like 5 or more centimeters. So yeah, have actually done quite a lot on this one. I just doesn't feel like it when I thought it was finished 2 weeks ago, and then it turns out it wasn't. So yeah. Yeah, I think that was what I was gonna say about that one. I'm just gonna have some tea. Oh yeah, I'm knitting that one in cotton merino untold with needle size, let me see, 3.5mm needle size. I apparently used that needle size a lot, the same with 4mm, which I was not quite aware of. Okay, that's just how it is. The next project is actually my favorite project. I haven't actually knit anything on it the past week, but I did block it, which I did talk about last time. So I was planning on doing that. And I must say, it grew a lot. Like a lot. And I am not mad about that at all. But if you see the pictures, I think I'm gonna put up the picture here, if you can see it. It swallows my arms completely. I only have one arm knitted. But like, it bloomed, it grew, it was amazing. But it means that I don't think you can see it on the picture, but my wrist ended like here. So I had like all of this. That was just too much. So I'm gonna have to shorten the sleeves like I thought I would, but a lot more than I thought. I think I have like 15 centimeters too much. That's like crazy. I think that's like 6 inches. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe more. No, I think 6 inches maybe is correct. Maybe 7. I don't know. I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. I have no idea how to convert to centimeters and inches. But anyway, it means that I'm gonna have to shorten it even more than just hair, because I want the ribbing not to be too long. So I'm actually thinking back to hair and then adding the ribbing, but before adding the ribbing, also decreasing some of the stitches around the wrist. I didn't think it through when I knit this ribbing, because if I had, I would remember that cables do cinch in the material quite a bit, so that when I now have ribbing, it wouldn't actually be as cinched in compared to like if this was stock net. So that's why I'm gonna like decrease quite a couple of stitches before knitting the cuff. I think perhaps even like almost decreasing half. I think if I actually decreased half, it would be a bit tight. Well, actually, that would be nice. Maybe I would decrease half, or at least a third. I think that would be quite nice. So yeah, so I'm gonna remove at least 5 of my decreases from the arm, and probably remove so that I end up like halfway through this one, so it will match like how it is at the top. That was not easy to show. Yeah, there you see. At the top, it starts wide and narrows in. So I think I would do the same here. Like, stop at this part. And that would also mean I'm gonna remove these 2 last twists in this cable down here. The back side is a lot easier, because wherever I end up on this cable, it's gonna look fine. It's not a big problem. Yeah, look how nice this honeycomb cable blocked out. It is so beautiful. I'm super happy. This one like lays a lot more flat and like really shows the honeycomb pattern. It's just beautiful. So yeah, and like these cables, they lay so flat, they are like really opened up, really nice and super soft. I have talked about my troubles with wool previously, and this one, I can honestly say I have no trouble at all. So perhaps I just have to have like superwash everything. That is kind of what I'm suspecting. That as long as I use superwash for myself, I will not have any problems. Yeah. One thing I didn't like about my blocking is when I blocked, I lay it like this. So some of my cables on the arm kind of have the middle sticking out a bit. I think that will go away when I start using it though, so that's not the biggest problem. But I think next time I'm blocking it, I'm gonna block it like this instead, or at least try to like rotate it a bit so it doesn't get that line. But yeah, I love this. I'm gonna put it back on the needles. I'm gonna shorten this sleeve first, and then perhaps just block the cuff on it and see that it fits well, so that I don't end up having any trouble with the second sleeve, because I do want to knit the second sleeve before I knit the rest of the body, because then I can just knit until I'm out of yarn, and that's the plan. I want to use all the yarn I have. I only had 5 balls, which sounds very little, like a low amount, but they are 100-gram balls from Lykkegarn, which is a Norwegian yarn dyer, in the colorway Mars. So yeah, and I used 4mm needles all the time. Maybe that's the solution. I should knit the cuff with a smaller needle size. I don't think I did that. That will probably make it a lot better too. So yeah, that's this one. I have the yarn ball for the other arm connected. But yeah, I'm gonna pick up the sleeve, fix that problem, and then knit the second sleeve. So that's my plan for the week that's coming. I'm gonna start with this one because I love it so much, and I really missed knitting on it. I think it's more than 2 weeks since I knit on it. And like now that it's starting to get like sweater weather, I really want to wear it, but like it's not done yet, so I can't. But yeah, I'm gonna continue with this one. Sleeve first, then the second sleeve, then the body. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do all that in 1 week, but hopefully I have at least been able to fix the other arm so I can like show how it now fits, or later how it will fit. So yeah, that's this one. Also, I just wanted to show I have this super cute cable needle. I know there's like this big debate on if people use cable needles or not, and what type of cable needles, and also that people don't like plastic cable needles, but I actually prefer it because it's slippery enough to get like the stitches off the needles, but not so slippery like if it was metal that I could like risk losing them while knitting. Not that I don't think it would be a big problem, because you put some of the stitches on hold, knit a few, and then put them back on, so it's not like they're gonna like hang out in a long while. But I do prefer using a cable needle because I think it looks neater when I'm done with it, but also it just gives me peace of mind. If I had to like concentrate really hard not losing stitches every time I cabled on a 100% like all over cable sweater, I think I would lose my mind. So yeah, no. But I really like this one. I have a set with like I think 4 or 5 cable needles, and they're like brightly colored and in different sizes depending on what cables you're gonna use. So far I've only used the two smallest one, but that's just because I haven't actually knit anything in bulky yarn yet. So yeah. Oh, and also this is superwash, in case I didn't say. I mean, that's quite obvious when you see how much it grew. But like, yeah, this is the first sweater I'm knitting in superwash, so that's also quite fun. But yeah, putting it away. Putting it here, I think. Now, I think I only have 2 more projects to show before I'm gonna talk about some of my plans for other stuff. Other knitting plans, yeah. I'm gonna start with one other mindless kind of knitting project. It is my red saddle shoulder sweater. I have to figure out where the back and front is. I think it's this way. Yeah, that's correct. I still haven't done anything with the neckline. It's just I can't be bothered doing that until I start on the next ball of yarn, and considering how much yarn I have left, that's gonna be quite a while. Probably not until long after I've split for sleeves and all of that. I have this row counter, which helps me keep track of both when I'm supposed to increase now, because on the saddle shoulder I increased on both sides, but now that I'm on the arm increases, okay, I don't know if I can show it very easily. Show it on this side instead. Like, yeah, you can kind of see that, like, here is the stitches along the saddle shoulder, and then here are the increases that, like, they are at the diagonal from the other increases. Yes, there you can see it. Because now I'm only increasing to get the right amount of stitches for the arm. And when I have the appropriate amount of stitches for both, I'm doing like, you put the arms on hold like you usually do. You increase a few stitches under the arms, and then you just knit the body straight down. So at the moment, most of the time it is mindless, because it's a lot of just stock net. But I did put in this light bulb stitch markers, so that I would always know when I was close to the increases, because even though you can quite easily see them when you're knitting, it is quite easy to just be in your own mind and then not pay attention and completely forget to actually do the increases. So yeah, I am now on the 18th row of the arm stitches, and I do think I need more than 40, or at least close to 40. So there's a long time until I can actually split for sleeves, and when I do, I will finally be able to actually try it on. Because at the moment, it would just be a poncho. It wouldn't look good, like, at all. And also I don't have long enough needles, because there are fixed circular needles in the size 2.5. And the reason why they are fixed is because I don't think they make interchangeable needles in a smaller size. If they did, I would be able to, like, connect all the cables together using a cable connector, yeah, and then put some needle stoppers on the ends, because I have a set that has needle stoppers for when you take off the needles. And if I could do that, it would be a lot easier, but I don't. I could perhaps try and slide the cable. I have one of them here. This is in the needle size 3, so they are way too big. So yeah, perhaps I could use these, slide the cable over and try it on. I don't think it's there's no use doing that until I can actually try it on properly, like have a few inches under the arm, or at least a few centimeters, so like 1 inch. So yeah, I don't think... Yeah, I've had some progress on this, not a lot. This is my stitch marker, so I think I've only had like 4 or 5 rounds, which that's not a lot on this project, but this is also not my priority knitting. This is the project I'm knitting on when my head doesn't work. When I'm sick, I can't knit at all, so if I could, this would have been a lot longer. But yeah, I can't knit when I'm really sick because my head doesn't work at all, and also I get really sweaty in my hands when I'm sick, and wool just does not feel nice when it's kind of damp. So yeah, no knitting when I'm sick. Or at least not for long at a time. But yeah, that's this project. Oh, I didn't say, this yarn is Strikkekista Potential, also a Norwegian yarn dyer, and this colorway is Lollipop. It is 50% merino, 50% silk. I don't know if it's superwash merino or maybe... Let me see if I can find the tag. I have this box of tags from all the yarns that I've used, and I also put some yarn scraps on the tag to make it easier to find them. I'm just looking for this tag with this color instead of like, oh, I wonder what kind of yarn this is. I haven't put the yarn on these ones yet because they haven't been used yet. So yeah, this is, it is superwash merino, 50% superwash merino, 50% silk, and 600 meters per 100 grams. So it's super thin. It's even thinner than the sock yarn I use. And I'm actually using a larger needle size than I use for the socks I'm gonna show afterwards. So it is, in my opinion, very airy, light fabric. It's still non-see-through. It's not like super gapey, but I think it's like airy, breezy. This is gonna be like a super nice summer sweater, or perhaps like a lightweight sweater underneath a woolen sweater, so that I can actually wear wool clothing more. This will not be one of those that I'm gonna use underneath the Seascape cardigan, no, Seascape pullover that I used in the first episode, because that one is short sleeved and it has a cropped body, so everything that I'm gonna wear underneath will show, especially if it's long sleeved, which I am planning on making this. So instead, that's what I'm using the black t-shirt for, which also I wanted to be done before November because I have an event where I want to use it. I sing in a choir, and that choir has a dress code where you have to wear black when we're performing, which is why I wanted to knit a nice black t-shirt too. But also, that event we're singing in the theater, and I haven't done that before, and I want to look really nice. I already have like a blouse I usually wear, but it is a bit thinner. And I know I'm gonna be hot on stage, but we're only having 2 or 3 songs for that concert. And also this t-shirt I'm gonna use during our Christmas concerts. I would really have loved using this one during our Christmas concerts, but that wouldn't be feasible because we have the dress code. So this is instead gonna be, perhaps I can use this on Christmas Eve depending on where we're celebrating. If it's just the close family, I'm not gonna dress up like super fancy, because I prefer to be more casual, but this I think is pretty enough to wear at any occasion. So the goal is to be done with this before Christmas, so I actually have to like step up a bit, I think, because I think I started this in September, and it's now October. So if I'm gonna get done with it, I actually have to like step up the tempo. But this is not my highest priority in it. The black one is the highest priority, then the cabled one. Though that does not mean those are the ones that are gonna have the most knitting time. It's just that I'm gonna like think about them more, because I'm also in a sock knitting mood, which you can probably tell since I have already finished a pair after just 2 weeks. But the other pair that you have seen, I think, in every episode, and the first episode it was like only the cuff or less than all of the cuff, and then the second time I had done the cuff and a tiny bit on the leg. Okay, this is tangled. I have finally had some progress when I figured out why I was so bored with the pattern. It was supposed to just be one color vanilla socks, and I thought it was very boring to knit, to be honest. So I had very low, very slow progress. But now I figured out that I wanted to like make a few stripes and then just knit a tiny bit more. So yeah, the purple is Mrs. Fox Cold Shoulder, Kald Skulder, Superwash, Merino, with Nylon and Stellina. So it actually like sparkles a bit, you might be able to see. While this peach color, I guess, is Life in the Long Grass singles, 100% superwash, called in the colorway Angel City. It's actually the one that I have there, as you might be able to see. The ball is barely used. I knit both of them at the same time, so I took from the outside and the inside, and it got a tangled mess, so I decided yesterday or the day before that I really wanted to be done with the stripes before showing it on the podcast, so that I wouldn't have to show the tangled mess. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the stripes. They made this process a lot more fun because colors are fun, but also it gave me the motivation to like get quite a lot done. As you can probably see, this is my stitch marker. So last time I hadn't even started on the stripes because I was still debating on whether or not which color I was gonna use. These two were the two colors I was debating about, and at the beginning I thought I wanted to use the purple one, but then I figured out the purple had like the wrong undertones, so it wouldn't work with this purple. So yeah, that's why I now finally have some progress. So yeah, I am gonna try and get to the heel before next time. I don't know why, but I don't like knitting socks on 2mm needles. I prefer to knit them on 3, but that means that I have to like consider the yarn. That's why, well, those are now at the bottom probably. Yeah, these socks. Much thicker, much warmer. Yeah. So you can probably see the difference. Like, these ones are thick, these ones are thin. These are more comfortable, like when you're wearing them in boots, but these are warmer, so if it's cold I'm gonna use these more. But knitting on 2mm needles, it takes ages and I feel like I have no progress, and I don't like it. It's not as fun. So these have been a real slog, and I don't know why. It's not yarn, probably needles. I want these to be done. Maybe I think the colors are too boring. Like, I really loved these colors when I first bought them, and the first pair I made with them I really loved. They were in that at the bottom here there's this pink that's in also Mrs. Fox, and that one I think it's called hot pink, which makes sense. Also it's Lina, also with nylon, so that's like proper sock yarn. And the first pair, the main color were this purple, and the hot pink was the cuff and heel and toes. And that was a project that just flew off the needles, and it was super fun, and I was really sad when I realized they were too big for me. Which is why my grandma ended up with them, because they were too big for my mom too. But yeah, I really want these socks to be done because I need new pairs of wool socks. At the moment I'm wearing a pair that's made out of double Sunday actually, so there's absolutely no nylon in them. They were just leftovers from a sweater, and there was like barely enough for a pair of short socks. So I just went like, I want something warm, I want something soft. When they fall off my feet they're gonna be thrown away, it's fine. But like, because they are 100% merino, they are like so worn out, and there's not even any point in mending them because they're like worn out everywhere, and they pill, and they look terrible, and the color is being washed away. Well, not washed away, they're being literally stepped away. But I really do need a pair of warm socks because this summer was super warm. So usually I knit a pair of socks or two during the summer, and then I have them during the winter. And this summer I haven't knit a single pair of socks. This was the only pair of socks that I cast on, and I haven't even finished them yet. It's October. Instead I cast on a second pair and finished them in like 2 weeks. So yeah, clearly I prefer this yarn and needle size, which is why when I'm now going to talk about acquisitions instead, actually not acquisitions, that's the wrong word, but like plans, because I haven't bought anything new. I have just rummaged through my my yarn stash. Like, when I bought the sock yarn for these socks, this is actually the second pair I'm knitting out of this exact color combination. The first pair I knit the color palette socks, and I ran out of the green yarn, so I had to like run to the store and get a second ball. And when I knit them done and I weighed how much I had left of the green, I had exactly 50 grams, which is weird because they are 50-gram balls. So I was sitting there like, what? And I also had, and I bought a second skein of brown yarn just because I like the color. Yeah. So when I was left after the last pair, I had the exact same amount of yarn again, and since this was a combination I really liked, the last pair I gave to my grandpa because they were a bit too big for me, because I knit them in 3mm needles like the pattern suggests, and with 64 stitches, and they have 15 rows between like each of these. I adjusted like the pattern I think has 4 on the foot and 3 on the leg, and that was like way too much for me. So I did also on that other sock knit 2 on the leg and 3 on the foot, but they were still too long and too baggy, and yes, I could have used them as like cozy at home socks, but that was not why I knit them. I wanted a pair that fit well and I could use in my boots. But since I had basically the same yarn again, I decided to modify the pattern so that I would have socks that fit me, and I also changed the type of toes, because that one had like spiral toes. I don't know if that's the proper name, but like you decrease with a set interval, and then the next time you decrease there's 1 stitch less between each, until you have like a set amount of stitches, and you just pull the yarn through all the loops. Yeah. On the first pair, I did do this modification that I changed the heel to have like this same pattern that's here, and also that the toes had the same pattern, because it's only stockinette in the color palette socks, but I wanted to like continue the pattern, and it looked quite nice in the original pair too. But I knew when I made them that I wanted to change how the toes were decreased. I liked this better. So yeah. But I used almost the whole bowl, I guess. Yeah, I have 11 grams left of the green and 24 of the brown, which means I could not knit an exact pair like this again with the colors I have, like these two. But when I bought this yarn the first time, I bought multiple colors, like black and blue, and I also have a light grey and a dark grey. But what I'm planning is I want a pair of socks with these 4. So what I'm planning is just to compare. This is the original sock, or like my original sock. I am planning on using these 3 colors in these sections and having the green one in the middle, like here, and either having like this and then this, or continuing like this and then go like this and then this. I haven't decided. It could be cool to mirror them, it could be cool to like have sequence, and then the black will be like the brown color on this one. I think that would look good. Like, obviously I think that. But yeah. This middle section uses slightly more yarn than these other sections, but considering, let me see, I have a calculator here. I had 50 grams of the green one, and I'm left with 11, which means I used 39, let's say 40 grams, just to be on the safe side. And 40 grams divided by 5 sections means that each of the sections have 8 grams, which means even if I do use slightly more on this one section, I think 11 grams will be more than enough. If it's not, this is not difficult yarn to find where I live. Like Dalgan alpaca forte is quite common, which means that if I do run out at an awkward moment, I will either like tinker back, I guess, and use a different color. Like I could just alternate these two and have more than enough, as long as I use the brown for the less amount. Yeah, because I used 30. I used 26 grams of the brown, which makes sense. For these ones, which means that I have 24 left. Yeah, I have 24 left. So yeah, if I use the brown for 2 sections instead of 3, I will be guaranteed to have enough. And I will have some leftovers so I can actually darn my socks if something happens, which is nice. I really do hate not being able to darn socks. Though I also hate actually having to darn them. Sometimes I think I would rather knit new socks, but that takes ages, as you've seen. But yeah, I'm gonna try and hold off on this sock project until after I'm done with this, but I can't guarantee, because this one is boring. So yeah, but I am gonna try and get my black t-shirt done first, and then work on the cable sweater and the sailor sweater interchangeably, I guess. Though I also want the red sweaters to get quite a lot of love. And I also want to fix the hat and knit my husband his hat. As you can see, I have a lot of projects, and I'm very glad I never started on the 2 other sweater ideas that I have. The one that's like here you see the yellow and the pink yarn. That's a sweater I'm planning on making, but I haven't gotten there yet. And that one, the blue yarn here, that's untold yarn in cotton merino, the same as the black t-shirt. And I'm planning on knitting up this one also as a t-shirt, but in a larger size. So yeah, I have many plans and not enough time. So yeah, but that's just life, I guess. But I am very pleased with these ones. I will tell you next week if I still have them or if they did end up being a gift. And yeah, that's all from me today. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you liked the video, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.